Welcome to Cyber Espresso podcast, shot of cybersecurity insights with industry leaders. I welcome today's guest, Naras Nitala. Naras, welcome to our podcast.
Pleasure, Murat. Happy to be here and discussing all things cybersecurity with you.
So, Naras, you have extensive experience with standards and cybersecurity frameworks, including NIST, ISO, and AI RMF. In the
Yeah.
age of AI, is regulatory compliance becoming a challenge?
Well, that's a very good opening question. I would definitely say yes. One of the key factors when it comes to regulation and oversight over AI-induced cybersecurity is the speed at which AI is progressing forward versus where is regulation and the related I won't say acts because there are some acts already, but more of the processes and procedures that actually put it in place. They are obviously behind. So that's where I see regulation being a bit behind than what the industry is actually doing, and that is probably giving rise to some challenges on regulation trying to catch up with the actual industry that's going on. That's one point. The second point I would definitely want to speak about is what are the various dimensions of regulation that needs to be looked into when governing AI. Of course, we have got fantastic frameworks, for example, the NIST AI RMF, which is exclusively devoted to the AI risk management published by the NIST. However, being having just a control framework is just not sufficient. The reason why I say that is how do we implement it, and that's where the whole challenge is. And two, how do we meet whatever be the requirements of those regulations are? But unfortunately, those requirements are still at an infancy, if I can use that word, because like for example, how do you manage hallucination of AI risks? I mean, that's a very big risk. I wrote an article on that a few months ago. How do you manage the hallucination risk of AI, and what is acceptable, what is not acceptable? Number two, what is the human judgment, and what is the overlap of human judgment versus AI judgment, especially in agentic AI cases, right? Because agentic AI is all about AI trying to make its own decisions. But where does the buck stop? And where does the human control take over? That's another challenge. The third one is a sense of awareness, creating awareness, because today across the globe, especially in financial technology frontiers, as we see, is everybody wants to get into an AI bandwagon. I want to be in AI, but what do you want to do in AI? What are your guardrails? What are your boundaries? That still is not properly being defined. And in the absence of that, it all starts becoming bits and pieces here and there. I guess it maybe just over a period of time, it will start coming together as a piece of puzzles. But we need to wait for it as AI starts evolving itself for a period of time. That's my take. I hope that sort of sets the
Very
stage.
good.
Thank you.
No, very, very good. So you rightly said regulations are a little bit behind, but the reality is also AI is taking the center stage. So how the organization scale AI really without scaling risk?
Uh, well, that's a good follow-up one point. How do I scale up AI without actually scaling the risk associated with it? One is we need to look at what exactly is AI doing in your environment, not what it's doing in generic thing. So how do you want to scale up without actually scaling up the risk or basically controlling the risk? Like, let me give you a simple example. Say you're going to patch an AI system, or maybe you're using AI to patch a system, both ways. Then, if that is the case, what are the risks associated with that particular activity? How is patching an AI system different from that of patching a normal traditional system, which we have been used to for the last several years? What sets apart patching of an AI versus that of a traditional? So these are some of the points that we need to look at it from a technology perspective. From a process and oversight perspective, again, it goes back to the reliance and the degree of reliance that we place on the AI system. Cannot simply say, oh, AI has patched up my system, I'm good with it, right? But there could be hidden risk on that. How do you know what AI has actually done to your system? How do you know it has taken the correct decision to actually patch what is actually required to be patched? How do you know that it is not left behind something that probably is never seen, or there's an oversight of that? Industry wise, the criticality would probably differ. I would say, because I come from a financial institution background, the degree of influence of AI in trying to manage these kind of activities in financial services could be far more complicated when versus other industries. Not to demean, for example, it would probably be something much much more vigorous in the case of a healthcare industry, because human lives are at stake. It could probably vary a bit, say, in the airline industry or the telecom industry and all. But at the end of the day, irrespective of the industry that we are talking about, the risks associated with AI need to be properly understood in the context in which it is being discussed. Not because a huge bank has used AI to do something doesn't mean that it is applicable to, say, for example, an airline company. It may not. They are two different things. And that's the way I would look at it.
Correct, correct. Very good. So, Naras, you're very active in social media. You publish a lot of articles. I try to catch up as much as I can. So, in one of your latest article, you argued that CFOs should sit at the center of AI innovation. Can you expand on your thoughts, please?
Oh, definitely. The reason why I try to focus on the CFO aspects is primarily because at the end of the day, there are two things that manage any kind of a program in any enterprise. One is efforts, or basically time and all, and two, budgets and costs, obviously. Right. Now, if you look at it from a financial perspective, the CFO sits in the center of those things. But the point to be noted is, how much of control does the CFO's office have in anything that is happening? If a CTO office comes back and says, I'm implementing XYZ AI tool into this, well, have you understood the ROI of that? How do I convert that into numbers or metrics that can be financially defined? How do I know that I'm actually getting the benefit of what we are going to spend? Much like traditional investments too, these questions are common. But the point to note is, AI is at this point of time, from a CFO's perspective, how much does the CFO's office even understand what the AI is doing? Unlike traditional, if I go and say, oh, I'm implementing a CRM platform to a CFO's office, the CFO's office, in all probability, will understand what that means, because CRM has been here for years together. But if I say I'm going to put in an AI agentic tool or a program, and I'm going to do this, does the CFO's office understand what are the implications of that? Number one. And two, what are the questions the CFO's office is asking its technology counterparts? Are they being relevant to what is being discussed and trying to be, sort of projected? How do we quantify that? And how do we know what is going to be material versus non-material, right? So these are some of the key questions that I believe a CFO's office must ask when any enterprise is getting into any kind of an AI program. In today's technology world, it is, I mean, I'm reading everywhere, oh, XYZ organization is implementing this AI tool. They are probably spending $1 million on implementing that tool. Fine, good enough. But how do you know that you're justifying that $1 million? Is the CFO asking the right questions on what it is going to do in the short term and the long term to the company, right?
And it's
And
a
it's
very difficult question. Eh?
so, and I would probably answer, I mean, add to that, to across three dimensions, these questions should be asked. One is people, one is process, and one is technology. All three important dimensions of any program that runs in any enterprise. And that's where the CFO has to have a handle, a good grip on what is actually happening within the organization.
Well, very valid points, very valuable insights, Narash. I totally appreciate your time being part of our podcast, and I look forward to maybe talking on other occasions.
Excellent. My pleasure too, Murat. I look forward to having, continuing this conversation with you. And please feel free, and then we can have chat, outside anytime. Definitely happy to be here.
Perfect. Take care, Naraz.
Take care. Thank you.